Hey everybody, welcome to our first episode of Quarantine Cooking. Doing a little recipe from Greek night at the IVN, a little Spanakopita, paired with Blenheim Vineyards Rkats, as they like to call it, Rkatsiteli. And we are gonna work here with Mr.V, my dad, also known as Papu, showing how to make his signature Spanakopita dish. First step is a little clarified butter on the stove. So we got 2 sticks of butter. Melt it down over medium-high heat and evaporate some of the water from it. We'll drain off the butter fat from the top and mix it with a little bit of olive oil to use to lubricate all the phyllo for the Spanakopita. In the meantime, get your oven hot. If you've got a convection setting, 325 to 340 convection is great. Otherwise, standard oven, 325. Get that hot ahead of time so you're ready to go. So first we're gonna prep the onions to cook for the greens. Greeks love scallions for everything, and so that's what we're going to use. There's some spring onions, just roughly chopped, sauteed in olive oil, and then we'll add our mixture of spinach, kale, and actually a little bit of arugula as well. All right, we're going to put them in this pan over here on the stove. Over here, Dad. A little bit of olive oil. So Spanakopita, as most people know it, it's just a version of a pie made with layers of phyllo dough and butter, olive oil. It can be made with vegetables, it can be made with rice, it can be made with meats. But pita literally just means pie. And this is just one of the more common versions that people are familiar with because it has spinach in it. Whereas my personal favorite is made with leeks, called prasopita. And Papu, Mr.V here, would probably tell you that he likes meat pita the best, especially when it's really greasy. So when you pick up the piece of pita and it's dripping fat down your arm, it's really delicious. But ultimately, it's kind of a food of economy. You can make it with pretty much anything you have around. Today we've got a little bit of kale to use, we've got some spinach, we've got a little bit of arugula that I didn't finish using up that can all just kind of get cooked down and seasoned and put into the pita. So if you got a large pan with good surface area and maybe a lid, it's pretty efficient in getting this greens cooked down. And then if you can see the butter's kind of cooking along, let all the water evaporate from it, and then it'll make it for a better, crispier Spanakopita. Greens. Dad, what is your favorite kind of pita? Your personal favorite?
My favorite is number one, is old tradition. For New Year's Day, feta cheese pita.
Just cheese, feta cheese.
Feta cheese with the coin inside.
With the coin inside. Right.
The current family, the old tradition, New Year's Day.
And we call that tiropita.
It's very rich pita.
So there's a great story. The week that my wife Farrell and I got married, we'd already been running the IVN for about a year, and my Uncle John from Cleveland, my dad's brother-in-law, came down with my dad's sister, Aunt Effie, and just to kind of come spend the week and help make some desserts for the wedding and all that kind of stuff. And he'd been out visiting the garden at the restaurant the first day he was here, and he noticed we had a bunch of greens and things in there growing that he wanted to pick and make a pita with. And when you pick dandelions and any kind of wild onion, any kind of wild green to put into a pita, that's called hortopita. Horta is the word for greens. So he saw all these great greens in the garden to make the pita with, and he said, tomorrow I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick those greens, and your Thea's going to make us a nice pita. So that's great. So next day he shows up, I'm in the kitchen doing something, and we've been prepping the restaurant for a big wedding for my family and Farrell's family and all his friends and relatives and whatnot. And Uncle John comes in the kitchen and he's like, they stole them. I was like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, the greens, they're all gone. Somebody stole the greens. And I sat there and I thought to myself for a second, I'm like, what is it? What? And then I remembered the gardener had been there that morning to spruce up the property, right? Did some edging and did some mulching and weeded the garden. And he literally weeded all of the greens that Uncle John had seen that he wanted to make the pita with. So I finally explained it once I figured it out. I said, Uncle John, I said, I'm really sorry. It's like, but the gardener was here this morning and he cleaned up the garden. And he just couldn't believe, he's just, what an idiot, he says. Like, how can you throw away all that good food? I'm like, well, we don't always know better about these things. See, we have two kinds of filo. We've got a thin, both commercially made, one by a company called Fantis, which makes a really fantastic regular filo, and then Apollo makes a thick country style, and we like to use a little bit of both to get that authentic, homemade filo feel by having a mixture of both of them in the pot. So next is we're going to finish prepping the filling. We've got the sauteed scallions and our greens, and it's good if you let them cool off a tiny bit before you keep going. You don't want them to be really hot when you put them inside the pita. A little spinach stem, not a big deal, just chop it up. It's all good for you. And some fresh dill. We never agree on how much feta. How much feta? How much? Tell me when to stop.
Try half first.
All right. Is that good?
Yeah. Right. Mix it. See what
I'm gonna put some egg. So we're gonna put 2.5 eggs. We're gonna put 2 whole eggs, 1 yolk. We're gonna save one white to put on top of the pita to keep the filo really crispy. So you kind of beat the eggs up a little bit so that they distribute really well inside the greens. And this just helps bind some of the moisture so your pita doesn't come out soggy. Gives it almost like a quiche-like texture inside. So mix it up really well. And then stir your cheese and everything in. All right, it's ready. And you got a little more cheese, yeah?
Some more.
All right. I'm gonna put all of it. Yeah, all right. So if you don't have feta, you can use ricotta. You can use cream cheese.
Yes,
you can use Parmesan cheese. You could use mascarpone cheese.
Cottage cheese. Mostly,
you can use cottage cheese.
Mostly they use cottage cheese for save money.
Yeah, they use cottage cheese to stretch what they have. That's right.
Yeah. The good feta costs money.
Yeah, the good feta is expensive. That's right. So we give it a taste and make sure we're happy with it. Use a little salt. I'll move my pepper. That's good. All right, pita is ready for the master to assemble. So,
okay, I'm making it.
Yeah, you go ahead. You do better than I do. Yeah. So he likes to start with a thick filo first on the bottom.
The thick filo on the bottom, they call it horizontal.
Country style filo.
Cover up the sides here. You want to use 2.
2 thick filo on the bottom.
Small.
What about the butter?
Actually.
What about the butter?
Half. Yeah, I gotta put a little butter now.
Look, he says a little bit of butter. You wait and see how much butter he puts before this is all over.
Actually, half in the middle now.
A half a piece, okay.
Over here at the sides.
So the important step, the important part you haven't seen yet, but what makes his Spanakopita better than what you get most places is that he does many layers of the spinach strewn throughout with layers of phyllo. So it actually has more phyllo dough and more butter proportionally, and the spinach is just spread out through it. So there's not this just big layer and pile of it. It's really easy and fast to make Spanakopita if all you do is put a couple pieces of phyllo down, dump a bunch of spinach in it, put a couple more pieces of phyllo down, bump a bunch more spinach in it, and it just doesn't taste the same. So this is just sort of how patience and taking your time building the pita. Oh boy, what happened to that poor phyllo? Yeah, it looks like our phyllo is a little bit dry, it's a little crumbly. He'll just put extra butter. So one of Mr. V's first jobs in the States when he came in the mid-60s, he worked at a phyllo factory in Cleveland, Ohio, before the rolling machines were actually built. And so because he had baking experience from back home, he landed this job where they literally hand-rolled phyllo dough every day to stick in boxes and to sell. I'm having made homemade phyllo a few times, really just for fun and to try something different. Imagine that was my job every day. That would, boy, oh boy, yeah, that would be a miserable experience to say the least. And now, of course, they have these huge commercial rolling machines. So he likes to crinkle the sheets in between each layer. You don't lay them in there flat. You crinkle them, and then you brush them and drizzle them with butter.
For better texture.
Better texture of the pie, yeah. Where's the butter? Are you forgetting to put butter? So again, it's clarified butter, poured off the pot into that little bowl, and then added some olive oil. It's probably 75% butter, 25% olive oil. What happened to that phyllo? ¿Qué ha pasado tu phyllo?
Sometimes, I don't know, when you open with a knife. I don't know.
No, it was dry. It's all over my floor now. So we used a Pyrex pie pan. You could use a sheet pan. You could use a cast iron skillet. You could put it in almost anything. Just an aluminum cake pan works just fine as well. But you just adjust your ingredients or number of phyllo based on how big a pie you want to make.
In the early 70s, at Cleveland, Ohio, was a company, they call them Athens Pastry. I worked for them for a short period of time. Open this phyllo by hand. Oh, the worst job I ever had. You open big table like this room here. One guy in this corner, the other guy in the other corner. Start opening the door like pizza opener. I'll throw on the table and then I go like this around the table. The phyllo. So we start up in the corners and put in starch. And then brush up with the starch is like fog.
How many layers of spinach and phyllo do you like to put?
Usually, particularly this kept sheet pan I used to make it at my son's restaurant, 6 or 7 layers.
6 or 7 layers. Yeah. Okay, but how about for a pie like this size? How many layers are you going to put?
Now, right now, this one probably I'm going to put is 3 more.
Yeah.
This is 3 here.
Okay.
Put it deep.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff here. We can make it thicker.
Right.
I could do faster if I use my.
Use your hands. I didn't bring any gloves. I'm sorry. I forgot to bring home some gloves for you. That's right, he's almost done.
It's another method to make spanakopita. You put the fill on the bottom, 3/4. You put the meal and the spinach, and then fill it on top and finish.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's very simple. But this here takes extra work, but it gives you different texture of spanakopita.
So if you were going to make a cheese pita, what cheeses would you put in it? What would you, for tiropita, what would you use?
Tiropita, I used 100% feta. I used the best cheese in the market, Dodonis.
Dodonis feta,
You know, I don't like cottage cheese. We can add some ricotta cheese. It's good, makes the pita more, what's the right word for that? More fluffy.
Lighter and fluffier, yeah.
Lighter, yes. Ricotta, but
Yeah.
I don't like cottage cheese.
So you're going to put ricotta, feta, and eggs.
Yeah.
Any dill? Any dill or onion?
Sorry?
You going to put any dill or onion in it?
Dill?
Dill or onion?
Dill, yes, of course.
That's what I'm asking you. What are the ingredients?
Dill and onion, tiropita? No.
That's what I'm asking for tiropita. No?
No.
Okay, just cheese and egg.
Just cheese and eggs.
Okay.
And black pepper and salt.
Okay.
Depends. Feta cheese has salt, you know.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. That's good. Yeah, we'll make it good. It's going to be a thick pita. It's going to take probably about 15 minutes. One more time. Okay, now down with the filo, the thin filo. Now we're gonna close them up. Push the egg.
Yeah, I have to beat the egg. Okay. You need to beat the egg first.
We'll put the egg whites.
You want to beat the egg?
Or you didn't beat it?
No, sir. This is so the top layers of filo can stick and don't come off in the oven.
Put the egg whites. This way they stick together. They're flop up. And the board on top. We're going to put it 2 more pieces. We have to cut it in half now.
Dat is de kopjes.
Ja.
Kop staat wel aan, de midden is.
No, not the kopjes.
Oké. Αυτό είναι 2 κομμάτια. You got 2 sheets right there together, stuck.
Huh?
That's 2 sheets stuck together.
Rest 2 sheets?
Yes, sir.
2 sheets you have earlier. How come this here?
That's
You
2.
have 2 sheets. Okay.
But it's rippled
Okay,
textured on
I
top
like
is nice. Yeah.
I like that.
Textured on top is nice.
Actually, they fill me out. I don't think so.
That's enough, yeah.
You put them all.
I think that's enough. I think that's good.
You need more. You can add a spinach.
Yeah.
I put a border on top. This thick filo absorbs a lot of water. After you have time with the bacon, you have to add some more. Okay, ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
Bottom
Bottom oven's ready.
340.
That's what I set it at. You can change it if you want. Bottom oven. Yep.
Top shelf.
Yeah. Middle of the oven's better, yeah.
Okay, go left.
All right. We'll see you in about an hour. Okay, we're gonna make tzatziki in a hurry. So you're gonna start with some washed cucumbers ready to go in the box grater. Be very careful that you don't box grate your fingers. It's extremely painful. And then you gotta throw away the cucumbers. So what you wanna do is get these grated and then salt them a little bit and let them drain, squeeze the excess water out of them, and then do a little more choppy after that. And so I've got about 2 cups of yogurt. It's good, thick, strained Greek yogurt. And I've got 1 English cucumber. I just kind of like the flavor and consistency of English cucumbers typically. When I can get some good local cucumbers in the middle of summertime, then that's my preference. But any other time of year, it's just a really good consistent product to have. So we got the cukes, and we'll put a little salt. And massage them a little bit. And then put them in the strainer and kind of press them, or just stick them in your hands. And like you can just squeeze it out, get the water out. And that's what makes the tzatziki taste better. It gives it the better thick texture that you really want. I do kind of like to chop up the cukes a tiny bit more. Chop up some dill. Some garlic, plenty of garlic. Gallo gordo.
Gordo.
Is that enough garlic?
We have to test, that's the main thing. Okay.
Yeah, well, sure.
We get it right now.
Yes.
We have to test it, we'll see what. Yes.
Olive oil.
Extra virgin.
Extra virgin olive oil. Salt, more garlic, more.
Oh, cargato poi.
Nice job. Oh, that's it. Stop.
That's it. Stop. Push. Push back.
Push the button.
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost 30 minutes.
Because it does get dry, the thick filo always absorb more water. To make nice tender and tasty, maybe we have to do more time.
Okay, so that's about 30 minutes in the oven. Brush it with some more butter and keep going. So Mr. V has proclaimed the pizza to be ready. We baked it for an hour and 5 minutes total. It was in for about a half an hour, and we turned the oven down to 325 because we wanted to get a little color on it, but not to go too far before it was all baked all the way through. And as you can see, most of the butter's gone because every time we open the oven door, he brushed a little more on it. The dough looked still looks a little bit dry. Put one more addition of butter on it for good measure, and then we'll let it rest about 10 minutes, and then we'll slice into it. Looks good. It came out of the oven. As you can see, it rested just a little bit, so it's a little easier to cut. It's really crispy on top. I failed to mention that if you want perfect slices out of it, to pre-score the filo before you bake it because it gets really crispy. This one it'll be a little bit sloppy because I didn't do that. But it's, rustic, home style, we'll call it.
And I hope he can pass the inspection. All the good hard work he did, I hope it tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. We've got here to enjoy it with our bottle of Rkats from Blenheim, which is going to be available on our wine list to go this week, all week long, but especially we thought it was a nice pairing with the Spanakopita and the souvlaki that'll be on the menu, and the other things that we're dreaming up right now. We haven't quite finished it off. He doesn't like how I'm cutting it. He's lecturing me here. Doing the best I can here. All right, there we go.
Showing the picture.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Oh my God, dang.
Ooh.
Need more cook, I think.
You need to cook it more next time? Yeah, you always tell me that. It's true. Cool. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah. Vamos.
Ganas de queremos.